here. What's up, everybody? It's your favorite superhero who's not wearing hockey pads. Favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the SH Figuarts Dark Knight Batman. There's a lot to talk about here. There's a lot of accessories to talk about. This is a new line from SH Figuarts that I'm involved in. You know, my kids weren't sure if I should be reviewing it for you guys, but I think, it's the right choice. They were worried that I was doing too much, you know?
You don't have to do this. You've given these people everything.
Not everything. Not yet. So he comes with a wide array of hands. He has one relaxed posed hand. You can also jam a Batarang in there, but we'll talk about that later. Disregard that. The other one must have fallen on the floor and I just found it. So he does come with two. And just as a heads up, you can get him to kind of hold a Batarang in there if you'd like. But it also works as a relaxed hand as well. And you can also get it to support the sticky bomb gun. Then you have, working from the inside out, two Batarang holding hands. And here are the Batarang holding hands. You can have it holding like this. You can also angle it a bit. It doesn't stay as well. And now I'm going to look like a ripe nitwit because it's sticking to my finger. But you can have him hold it at a little bit of an angle as well. You just have to kind of position it right. I just had it a second ago. And then you can also use one of the trigger finger hands and slide it between the trigger finger and the middle finger, and you can hold it like this. And then you can also, if you put it in there, you can also hold it in his hand, but it doesn't look as cool as the one that's meant to hold it. But just as an option, and just so you know. The Batarangs themselves are all just finished in that copper paint and look tremendous. You have two hands to support the sticky bomb gun, and then two more hands to hold the sticky bomb gun. And there they are holding the sticky bomb gun. The sticky bomb gun is very well sculpted. It looks just like it, and it looks homemade, which I think is cool. And then the copper paint and the silver paint all applied well. We have a little bit of red paint inside there for the targeting system, I guess. And otherwise, really good. It looks cool, and of course, he does hold it well. And then you have two grappling gun holding hands, and we'll talk about the detailings, which are all the same when we go through the figure. As you can see, he holds the grappling gun just fine. The grappling gun itself is really well painted. We have this copper paint on there as well as the silver paint, and everything is very clean and sculpted very well. And the grappling gun can go on his holster here by just sliding it in there, where the bottom of it clips into there, and then these two pieces wrap around the trigger guard. And then he comes with this alternate head sculpt. SH Figuarts has been making some strange decisions recently, in my opinion, in terms of their alternate head sculpts. Like, it's just like they haven't been really dramatic choices, so it's like, why would you choose one over the other? They're so similar. I mean, this one has his mouth, like, awkwardly slightly open. I don't know, it's just a strange choice. I noticed this with the Padme, and then I've also noticed it with the Doctor Strange figure that we'll be looking at soon. It's just a bizarre choice. It's sculpted nicely, it's painted nicely, it's painted the same way as the other one, which we will talk about when we get there, except for the open mouth, obviously. And you can see inside double ball peg into the head and then into the neck for articulation. So let's talk about the figure. It's really well done. Couple issues, which we will talk about, obviously, but it's pretty fantastic. So there's the face, sculpted really well, painted tremendously. I think the eyes are done well, and the subtle, like, digital dot matrix paint around the mouth and lips all looks good. So I don't have any real complaints. My ears aren't perfectly sharp. This one over here has some flash to it. It's very subtle. I don't think you'd notice on a shelf. Double ball peg from the head into the neck, as we already discussed, which gets the head alone down to there and up to there, and then it feels like to me another double ball peg from the neck into the chest. So using both, you can get the head all the way down to there. The head articulation is superb, but that is because they allow some space between the head and the neck, so be aware of gappage, but you should be able to pose it in a way that won't bother you. Aww. So nothing really getting in its way there. From the chest into the abdomen, we have, it feels like to me, a double ball peg, but it might be a single. It's a really tight tolerance, so you won't be able to move it all the way around. The shoulder pads are an issue. We'll get to them. Detailings wise, the sculpt is absolutely tremendous. Like all of the, I would imagine it's all digitally sculpted because of the little, nuances inside of the armor. And then the armor itself has like a gunmetal gray that's painted on there. And then also on the abdomen, and everything is sculpted to the nines. There's also a single ball peg from the pelvis into the abdomen. Now, there is an issue with this. It seems either mine is stuck and it's a double ball peg. I'm going to see if I can't get a flashlight on this. Yeah, I just can't tell, but it's offset a little bit, at least on mine. So there's like always this gap between the abdomen and the belt. And I can't get around it. I can't seem to bend the ball peg. So I'm guessing it's just the way it is. And it's a little unsightly. It is slightly distracting. On a shelf where you notice it, I gotta say, I think I might. That's not to say everyone will, but I think that I might. This does come off. We'll talk about that, but it's really on there on mine. So let's talk about the arms. We'll talk about the articulation on that ball peg. So you get the swivel, so you can get all the way around. No issues there. A sassy Batman, teapot Batman, back to there, forward to there. So articulation-wise, it's good to go. Let's talk about the shoulders. These shoulder pads are huge, and the socket for this ball peg that the shoulder pad goes onto, and it is done the right way, is very shallow. So it has a tendency to pop off quite easily, and it's not the easiest even to get back on. That being said, you can see the range there on the ball peg. And I'll see if I'm not going to waste too much of everyone's time trying to get it on. But there it is. You can get it out. It's just hard. It's hard to manipulate because of the size of the shoulder pad. So we'll show it on this one. I'll fix it later. And this one I've actually had more of a problem with than the other one, but it just serves me right because I'm doing this review. So we have a ball peg inside the chest that comes out to a, let's see what that is, a disc hinge. And all in all, it works pretty well without the shoulder pad. With the shoulder pad, this one just came off too. This is an issue. The socket should have been greater. With the shoulder pad, you can kind of, and you can probably adjust this. It's just hard to get it from falling off. Yeah, so you can get it out to 90 degrees with the shoulder pad. It's just you really got to be careful in how you do it. The butterfly joint works tremendously, and this cover down, actually I think that's the whole piece. It might not be a cover down piece, but it works well. So you can get the chest, you can get the arm across the chest at a decent angle. Nothing backwards, but I think that's fine. Swivel around, tight joint there. You feel that? There's been some inconsistencies with SH Figuarts in that regard here as of late. Bicep swivel, sculpting wise, is that same sort of like material sculpt, and then we have this paint added there. It's like a subtle metal paint. It looks really good. Both under the lights and in regular light. Double jointed elbow, but it is a little tight and it is a little limited. I would have expected a bit more, and that's a bit of a bummer. Now I don't want to push it, but yeah, I would have expected a bit more. We have the double row of arm gauntlets. That looks really cool, and they're sharp. They're sculpted very well. And then we have this wrist that's on a ball peg on a ball hinge. So it should swivel at both sides, but it is a little tight. But there, I just got it. So you can get up, down, and then swivel it back around and get in, out. For the other side, it's the same thing. For the utility belt, it's very nicely sculpted and painted. We have that copper metal and the silver painted on, and then we have this holster that we've already talked about with the accessories, and that does unplug, but it is a really tight little fit. I wish that the shoulder pads plugged in as well. So if you don't like this look, you don't have to have it. It doesn't bother me. For the hips, same sort of sculpted, digital sculpting for the thighs, and then moving down, we have the armor plate sculpted on. All looks beautiful. No paint, but it looks tremendous. We have a ball peg. It feels like they drop down a bit. It gets you the leg out to there, which I think is fine, and then forward to there, which I think is good, and then it rotates both around the ball peg slightly and around the hip piece. So you get your thigh swivel. Double jointed knee gets you the full range, so no problems there, and it's a pretty good knee. One thing to mention though, the cut of the knee joint does pop out from the calf a bit, from the shin, so it's stuck right there. So you just have to kind of push it in as you maneuver it around, and it's fine. It's a little bit of an annoyance, but it creates for a really clean sculpt. So I think it's ultimately worth the cost of doing business. So I'm okay with that. The boots are sculpted on. They're all one piece, so they won't swivel. but the ankles do swivel. They do tilt up a bit, they tilt down a bit, and they rock a taste. I would like a little bit more of a rocker on most of what SH Figuarts is producing these days. I just want to kind of make that clear. Nice wrinkles and stuff sculpted in the boots though, that all looks good, and we have a toe hinge. Now, one last thing we need to talk about obviously is the back of the figure, which is all sculpted well and cleans up fairly well. And when I say cleans up, I mean like not a lot of gappage. There is this gap between the back and the back of the figure, but with the cape on, it doesn't really bother you. Now, the cape. So a couple things. This is really close to being perfect. It's really close to being where I want a cape to be. A couple things though. First of all, the material is fantastic. It's right on the money. It has a good weight to it, and it lays fairly well. Now, they have these wires that run from the chest down, and it's very difficult to get them to lay flat. I've been able to do it, but there is one trick you can do. If you kind of tuck this, it's not a metal wire like a circular one, it's like a flat rectangular wire. And if you tuck it underneath this shoulder pad, you can kind of get it to lay where you want it. It still sticks out a bit from the back, but looking at it from the front, it kind of gets you where you want it to be. It also has these metal wires here that sit at about the back here. I'm not sure why they don't plug in. Maybe it's because it would also do this, so the whole cape would stick out like that. So maybe that's why. But it gives it a little bit of added weight, and it gives it a little definition when you have the cape spread. So it's really a twofer. It gives the weight a little bit more. The gravity of the cape a little bit more. The weight of the cape a little bit more gravity. I don't know what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? Justice. Anyway, and then you can spread out. You can spread out the cape, and because of those metal pieces, it kind of defines the back cape pretty perfectly. Nice cut to the cape. Really, really a well done cape. Not perfect, but it's pretty close. It may be probably top 5 capes I've ever seen on a mass release figure. So yeah, really well done overall. Couple issues. Size comparison wise, there he is with the Mafex Catwoman and the SH Figuarts Deadshot if you wanted to kind of mix universes. Catwoman is a little tall, but I think you can work it out where it won't bother you. Final thoughts wise, I should first say it doesn't come with this display stage. I wish it did, but it doesn't. I just use it for the pose. I really like the cape, but it's still not quite perfect. I'm not sure what the answer is, but I know they're getting closer. I'm sure they're aware that it's not quite right, but it's definitely in the ballpark. It's one of the best capes I've ever seen. The socket on the shoulder pads should have been deeper. It should have had more give, and it shouldn't have been as problematic popping on and off. Still some joint tolerance issues where some of the stuff is too tight and squeaky. And then lastly, that ball peg in the pelvis is obnoxious. It just seems to be a bit offset. I'm not sure if that's only on mine, but all I can attest to is the one that I have. And that's really the only issues I have here. Positives wise, I love the cape, I love the sculpt, I love the paint, I love the accessories, I love the playability, I love the likeness, I love the spirit of the character that's pouring through this sculpt. So I am absolutely thrilled with it, but I am biased on this one. Like, I'm a huge Dark Knight fan. I'm a huge Nolan Dark Knight trilogy fan. It's probably my second favorite trilogy of all time. I am one of those obnoxious nerds that thinks that the Nolan films are probably the best superhero movies ever made and will probably never be topped in some way. And that's even to acknowledge the faults of some of them. But yeah, so I'm a huge fan of it. I think it's tremendous. I think it's a great offering. I think it could get better, and I hope it will get better. But I think it's a pretty good start on this line. Anxious to see where Figuarts goes in the future with it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.